universe from all forms of restrictive thought and to liberate all living beings in all times, places, and circumstances. By bestowing upon them the highest benediction of understanding Krishna as the Supreme Emperor, under whose benign dispensation everyone in his creation could live amicably without strife between individuals and nations. Sri Sri Nitai Gauranga Bhagwan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, Srila Saraswati Thakur's freedom struggle was infinitely more expansive, noble, and meaningful than that for theoretically releasing tiny little India from its temporary and ultimately inconsequential political bondage, and demonstrated that he was already independent from the sway of popular thinking and did not need any political machinations to become liberated. His position was the Gaudiya Matha does not stand for geographical, political, or social India. It is the exponent of spiritual India, which is categorically different from any country of the world. So this is the idea of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, thought process and consciousness. To Srila Saraswati Thakur, Swaraj was not an issue except as a platform for preaching about the folly of identifying one's destructible body with the land in which it had happened to take birth. He did not see a vast difference between East and West, merely different modes of forgetfulness of Krishna. So that's how he saw it. So one is passion, one is ignorance, like ruling and ruled. Showing neither special favor nor dislike to Indians or their apparent suppressors, he saw both the rulers and the ruled as caught up in mistaken self-interest. He offered the best service to all by giving knowledge of Atma Dharma, the soul's need, whereby one can transcend the foolishness of thinking himself Eastern or Western. As he observed, even a millionth of the great favor bestowed upon people of this world by Vaishnava Dharma cannot be attained through millions of years of political maneuvering. We do not instruct people to become parochial and sectarian like politicians. So, this is a statement of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. So just now what I read. Head being deeply mired in bodily consciousness and raging over ephemeral territorial concerns, few people were ready to accept his gift. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati continued Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's policy of cooperation with the Raj. That means British. He continued that particular policy of cooperating with British. Appreciating that India had become stable by its rule and freed from the difficulties of previous Muslim domination, his divaricating from the ever-mounting disaffection for the British was not a political expedient. Rather, his approach was to remain aloof from politics and respect whoever held power. So, respect for whoever held power. If the rulers did not interfere with him, why should he wish to unseat them? Pragmatically also, he did not presume that an indigenous Indian government would necessarily be any better. Personally and through his leading representatives, he explained to officers of the crown that in Indian culture it was the duty of kings to protect sadhus and of sadhus to bless kings, pray for their welfare and advise them on benevolent governance. A harmonious, yeah. So actually we can see this particular cooperation between sadhus and the kings. So, of course, there can be argument that the British, how they affected the faith in the people. So we can see, we can analyze the consciousness of the masses also during the time of Lord Chaitanya, how people became very materialistic. They're blessed with so much of opulence by Lord Brahma, but they used all that because Lord Brahma saw that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about to appear. So, but all that opulence was been misused for sense gratification, and the masses, they already had that sense gratificatory tendency to rebel, and during the time of Lord Chaitanya, we see how they were rebellious and offensive to devotees and taking to demigod worshippers, demigod worship. So, so eventually Lord Krishna also arranges similar kind of situation for them. But if someone is sincere and like someone is a acharya, definitely they'll offer respect to that conviction. So, and on the other hand, if sadhus are displeased, it is very, very dangerous for the entire nation. So we can see how when Haridas Thakur was offended by Ramachandra Khan in Benapol, which is presently in Bangladesh, the entire place was cursed by Lord Nityananda, that it was cursed actually. And after that particular curse, one Yavana king came there and he slaughtered one cow in the house of, in the Durga Mandap, and tortured the entire village. I was analyzing the situation of 1965 also. So Srila Prabhupada left in August 13, 1965, displeased with India, and in August only there is attack of Yavanas on India, and that went on till September. So, and we see in 1971 also, Srila Prabhupada Maidan, that happened in 1971, right? Maidan, 10-day program in Maidan where the Naxalites came, 1971. 1971? Okay, 1971. Yeah, first ISKCON temple, it was 1971. So, in the same year, there is another war. So, when the sadhus are displaced, then all these unfortunate situations come up. So, we can see a harmonious report typified the Gaudiya Mata's allegiance to the crown. On May 6th, in connection with the celebrations of the silver jubilee of the reign of their majesties, the king, emperor and a queen empress, a huge Sankirtana procession under the lead of the Tridanda sannyasis, brahmacharis and devotees of the Calcutta Gaudiya Matha paraded the principal streets of Calcutta. Starting from the Gaudiya Matha at 4 p.m. So you can see how they're blessing the rulers. At 8 p.m., a congregational prayer was conducted at the Saraswata auditorium of the Matha by the President Acharya, invoking blessings on their majesties, King George V and Queen Mary, and speeches were delivered in support of the religious policy of the crown, which is the basis of all permanent well-being. And for this silver jubilee of Pancam George, as he was known in Indian vernaculars, a special deluxe edition of the Nadia Prakash was published featuring photos of the king and queen throughout their reign. The British reciprocated by extending full support and protection for Gaudiya Matha activities. In contrast to the often hostile or tense dealings they had with other Indian organizations. So, for example, for Gordhan Puja at Sri Gaudiya Matha in 1934, the devotees had made a big hill of rice and other Mahaprasad in the Natya Mandira. When local ruffians forcibly entered and rushed forward to snatch the Mahaprasad before the function was complete, Srila Saraswati Thakur had devotees haul it up to the gallery with ropes. The gang retaliated by throwing stones. Police soon arrived to dispel the mob and later went door to door in the area, warning people not to disturb the Gaudiya mission. Srila Saraswati Thakur expressed his gratefulness in Nadia Prakash report, commenting that the British were helping the Gaudiya Matha. Similarly, Sir George Frederick Stanley, Governor of Madras Presidency, promised to extend to the Gaudiya Matha in South India all governmental help and facilities as were accorded to Christian missionaries. Accompanied by a large retinue, Sir George also laid the foundation stone for the Krishna Kirtana Hall, the first building of the Madras Gaudiya Matha. Not surprisingly, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's outlook drew considerable opposition from his seditious contemporaries. Advocates of Swaraj griped that his preaching of Vaishnava Dharma with its emphasis on submission and humility promoted a slave mentality. Now here comes a very important point by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So they thought that it is a slave mentality that would extinguish the revolutionary spirit. But here it is. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati replied to such claims in a lecture at Dhaka University titled "The Gaudiya Matha stands for the dignity of the human race," declaring that slave mentality appertaining to the Supreme Lord is required, and that those who do not serve him remain eternal slaves to their marauding senses. So here is, so we know one of the famous conversation that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, when Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, so Srila Prabhupada gave this, in his pastimes, he gave this particular argument that India is still under the foreign rule and who will hear your message. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that today British is there and tomorrow someone else will be there and day after tomorrow someone else will be there. So the real freedom is freedom from material energy, and Lord Chaitanya's message cannot wait for anything. So we see that after independence there is someone else and later on someone else. So in fact very officially all the Shastras were rejected and very officially the British values were being kept in textbooks, school textbooks, and officially it was being propagated all these different values, so which had a much big impact. So Lord Krishna, he tells in Bhagavad Gita that sometimes the mode of passion dominates goodness and ignorance, and sometimes mode of ignorance dominates goodness and passion. So we can see that after independence, there's so much of mode of ignorance started in the in this Rajya. So there is one particular terminology which has been used, that um, India being enthusiastically taking to this particular rule of British, their values, or their within their heart, they are so much been affected by the British values. It is called as one particular syndrome, falling in love with a kidnapper. That is a particular syndrome actually. Psychology says. So that's why we can see here the acharyas, they tell us that independence of thought, that is the most important. To the argument that since no one would listen to the message of a feudal nation, independence should come first and homilies later. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati retorted that Krishna Bhakti is not dependent on who ruled and is so exclusively important that it cannot wait for any political transition. Furthermore, real and eternal Swaraj can be based only on the absolute truth, and complete reliance on the transcendental absolute truth is by far the highest form of freedom. So this is the same point which I just discussed. And here is a very, very important point. We should know how this, we should know the position of how the world is running and how this nationalists and freedom fighters are looked upon from the absolute point of view. We get a very clear-cut picture, top view of the entire situation. He likened nationalists to impersonalists, for both spoke of high ideals but were ultimately committed to worldly exploitation. So this is the outlook which acharyas are mentioning. He averred that Indian nationalism being hand in hand with various impersonalists such as Gandhi and RK Mission could never benefit India and was actually her nemesis. As long as such misleading movements remained influential, India would remain condemned. So this is a statement. Yet not all members of the Indian independence movement were against Srila Saraswati Thakur, especially many from Bengal and Orissa much appreciated him and his mission. Among Bengali political leaders, Chitranjan Das in particular respected Srila Saraswati Thakur's precepts. So there are some of the very, very famous conversations. So time is very less. There is conversation with Gandhi and also Madan Mohan Malviya, but there is Subhash Chandra Bose conversation, which is very, very interesting. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that the main cause of Indian independence is Subhash Chandra Bose. So with violence only one can get independence. In fact, that was actually the situation, that it was analyzed that during the World War II, British in World War II neither won but neither lost. So there is a difference between not losing and losing. So because it was in a semi-metastable state, it didn't lose. That's how they got a little bit of relief, and there was pressure also from the other side, from Subhash Chandra Bose. So then they could easily give up. So, but what is the outlook of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur? And now the conversation with Subhash Chandra Bose and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Sri Janakinath Bose was the father of Sri Subhash Chandra Bose, who was world famous as Netaji, and as a scourge to British claims on India. Janakinath was celebrated in his own right as an advocate whose reputation spread far and wide than his practice in Cuttack. At one time, he was chairman of Cuttack's municipal committee, and of course, his family was blessed with Mahaprasad from Mata also once, and now there is a conversation. So Janakinath's firebrand son Subhash Chandra Bose is the ninth of 14 children, was a militant activist of Indian National Congress, the major political force attempting to dislodge the British that time. Impelled by Vivekananda's doctrine of action and boldness, he later rebelled against Gandhi's attack of non-violence, inveighing that it could never be successful. Eventually, he went outside India and he supported Hitler. So all that happened. So he once like other cessationists, he gave differential respect to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as a sadhu. It stood against him ideologically. He once questioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Our country is suffering in the hands of British. Do you not feel for the national condition? You are holding so many young, energetic, educated men who would be better engaged in the freedom struggle. He was thinking like that. Why are you keeping them simply for spiritual pursuits? Srila Saraswati Thakur answered, you can take any of these men if they agree to go with you. But if any blood is spilled from them, your entire mission will be razed and your personal reputation spoiled. Do you know which country you belong to? Now you have taken birth in India. In the next life, you may be born elsewhere, perhaps even as a Britisher to come and rule here. You need not endeavor to remove the British. They will not remain here forever. In course of time, they will automatically leave. And that's what happened. It may happen that in the future, Indians will go to Britain and rule there. All these things come and go. This happened recently. One of the Indian was a UK Prime Minister also. Why are you so concerned about them? Consider the real aim of life. You want to help your countrymen, yet how many of them can you maintain in your movement? Bring to our mission as many people as you can, and I will provide them food, residence, clothing, everything. But can you take full responsibility for the complete necessities of even 10 men? So he challenged. So Srila Saraswati Thakur continued to forcefully establish his points, concluding each one by posing a question, not one of which Bose could reply to. His closing assertion was that Bose's efforts would not have any actual effect because everything is in Krishna's hands. Only when he sanctions will the British go. Do not take these boys for your petty inferior cause when they have dedicated their valuable lives for superior matters. Bose then offered dandavats and left, his purpose unfulfilled. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples saw Bose off, they heard him comment to his men. This Subhash Chandra Bose. Previously, I had scant respect for sadhus and especially not for Vaishnavas. Yet, now I have seen a Vaishnava powerful enough to actually deliver India. So, actually, Srila Prabhupada sometimes appreciates celibacy of Gandhiji also. And even if you some of you say that he also is one of the cause, Gandhiji. So Gandhiji was actually chanting holy names, and by the power of holy names, he could maintain celibacy, and he was determined to go on his particular so-called movement. So if you say that if you see that reason also, actually it is the ultimate reason is Krishna who delivered, who is the cause of. So, and like there is one more very important pastime which I was reading in relation to Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur in Bangladesh. So there is one incident when some British general, he was actually walking into the temple hall with shoes. So whether out of pride or out of ignorance, he was walking into the temple hall with the shoes. So the devotees, they saw that, and they didn't stop him, but wherever he was walking by, they were cleaning with, they're mopping it off. So and suddenly he realized that after a few steps that wherever he was walking, it was all cleaned up, and he felt so offended that he attacked the temple in Bangladesh, and he attacked the deity also, and I sort of damaged the deities. So then the devotees were disturbed. Deity is not different from Krishna. How is it that this particular thing happened? So then Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur became very angry. He said that someone can destroy a clock, that doesn't mean that he can destroy the time. So deity, so the point is the deity manifests or unmanifests. Krishna manifests himself in the form of deity, or doesn't manifest when there is a demon. So how can one become disturbed? So that mainly he made this particular point. One destroys clock doesn't mean that he destroyed the time also. In fact, time will destroy everybody eventually over a period of time. Krishna has time. Kalosmin lokakshay krit. So in fact, we see that how the different happenings happen, everything under the control of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like whether it is like in the recent past, in the 3-4 years before, when there is Corona, it was analyzed that the influence of demigods impacted the place. So, and we can see that when there are some Brahmanis who got attracted to one ordinary flute player. So just like gopis got transcendentally attracted to the Supreme Lord, which is glorified, which is absolute and which is glorified, which is the ultimate consciousness. But there is one more perverted reflection which is actually condemned. That is some of these Brahmanis who got attracted to one ordinary flute player or his singing or something. So they were the ones who were born in the next life as these queens who were kidnapped by Ravana. So we can see how everything, whatever happens, whatever disturbances and different things, they're all actually, there is all complete accounts that happen, that is maintained that it happens. Karmana Daiva Netrana. So we can see how the person Bhagavad, their outlook is totally transcendental, and they gave us how the entire world is going on in 10.85.15. So this particular point Vasudeva makes. They are truly ignorant who, while imprisoned within the ceaseless flow of this world's material qualities, fail to know you, the Supreme Soul of all that be, as their ultimate sublime destination because of their ignorance, Because of their ignorance, the entanglement of material work forces such souls to wander in the cycle of birth and death. So Lord Brahma also mentions that one enters into the deepest darkness of material existence when one starts analyzing the reactions. So we can see here that in this particular sloka, how Vasudeva's was expressing. I mean, in this particular chapter, Vasudeva was expressing himself, and Krishna, he was speaking about the absolute. And then later on, we can see how here Devaki, Mother Devaki, was expressing herself, and this led to the pastime of the six sons been brought back, and they drink the milk of Mother Devaki, which was previously been drunk by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because they got the divine remnants, they all got delivered. So, which is a true freedom. So, Krishna consciousness is the only solution. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would say the only problem in this world is lack of Krishna consciousness. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Granthiraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai.